In this video, I'm going to show you how to learn more than one language at the same time, and specifically languages from the same family, similar languages at the same time, without confusing them. If you're learning Spanish and Portuguese, or Spanish and Italian, uh, Polish and Ukrainian, etc., you can end up mixing languages, right? Or it can get a little bit confusing. There's one way to avoid this. I'm going to use Spanish and French to show you how to do it. So this is a sentence in English. So the word in English, an example sentence. Yeah, these are adjectives, and we've got verbs and nouns there as well. And for each one of them, yeah, we've got an adjective here, and then we've got it in Spanish. The professional, profesional. She's a professional photographer. Es fotógrafa profesional. Professionnel, il est photographe professionnel. Successful, he's a successful businessman. Exitoso, es un hombre de negocios exitoso. Réussi, c'est un homme d'affaires prospère. Sometimes it doesn't translate it. This is, I've done it with DeepL, by the way. Sometimes it doesn't translate it using the same exact word, but this time prospère is réussi. But you can use them. You can use this, the fact that it doesn't translate exactly the same way, to learn synonyms as well. So you learn even more vocabulary doing this. But anyway, the way to do this, it's always the same. You read it, you look for words that you don't know yet. So if you know Spanish already, what I recommend is starting. Okay, if you're starting both from scratch, what I recommend is first learning a fair amount of vocabulary in one of the languages. Use associations, use all the techniques, memorize with associations, retrieval practice, lots of reviewing, more retrieval practice, and learn a few hundred words at least in one of the languages, and the grammar, which you can do with the grammar list. You can learn all the grammar in context with that. But once you have some basic knowledge of one of the languages, you can start doing this. And this would be to use the first language to learn the second language. You can see there are a lot of similarities. Historical, historique. Ils ont visité des monuments historiques de la ville. Visitaron lugares históricos. There are some words that change, like ciudad, ville, but visité. All of that's the same in English, right? It's mostly pronunciation that changes, and then some of the vocab when you're talking about different Romance languages or Slavic languages, for example. So what you should do is create flashcards and create audio files of this, yeah? An audio file of Spanish and an audio file of French. And you listen to them back to back, and you do it daily. You also review you memorize the vocab and you review the lists, and then you create flashcards with this, but not English into this, but Spanish into French and vice versa. Yeah, so you get them reversed as well. So you will get sentences in Spanish and you have to translate them into French, and you get sentences in French that you have to translate into Spanish, and you try to say it aloud. Okay, you get this spécifique. Veuillez fournir des détails spécifiques sur votre projet. And okay, how do I say that in Spanish? Específico. ¿Quiere proporcionarnos detalles específicos? Proporcione. Yeah, okay. You get things like this as well. It's not a literal translation, because veuillez. And if there's someone French watching, yeah, I know my pronunciation is bad. You know, your pronunciation can never be good enough for French. But yeah, you get the point. French is a lot more formal than Spanish, so this is way more direct sounding. But you learn these kind of things as well. Yeah? The AI is already developed enough that the translations are not literal most of the time, but they take context into account pretty well as well. So you can learn a lot about how the language works by doing this. But mostly, if you listen to both over and over again, back to back, you learn the differences in pronunciation and also the differences in vocabulary and grammar when there are, but mostly pronunciation by just listening to them uh, next to each other, back to back. And then if you translate from one to the other and then back over and over again, yeah, you don't have to write, just flashcards in both languages and then translate into the other verbally. And you force yourself to speak in both, translate from one to the other and then translate from Spanish to French, from French to Spanish. If this is too difficult at first, then do it with English first, English to Spanish and then Spanish to French, and then French to Spanish. But this is how you can stack languages, and you can learn a lot of them from the same family pretty fast. You could do this with Spanish, and once if you've got a decent level of Spanish, you could use it to learn French, Portuguese, Italian, and let's say Catalan in a few months to a pretty good level. Obviously, the difference is if you go to Italy and you speak some Italian and it's not great, they'll be like, "Hey, speak Italian," and you just speak some like actually pretty good French in France, and they'll be like, "Your French is terrible. Let's switch to English." That's the way it is. No, I'm exaggerating. Actually, no. Actually, everyone was quite nice to me. It's only online that people are assholes. Whenever I go to France, I know my French is not very good when it comes to pronunciation, but they quite nice about it. My uh, written and obviously my ability to read French and write as well is quite good, but yeah, my speaking is still not great, honestly. That's the thing. If you don't, and I learned French first in school and then with massive, truly massive amounts of input. That's why I'm so against all this comprehensible input stuff because I never really did the all the actual, and I'm gonna do them now, but um, because it was one of the first languages that I learned, I didn't learn properly because I bought into all the comprehensible input crap, and yeah, I learned to understand it, and I could speak a little, but and I learned lots of vocab, but yeah, my speaking never got really going until I started doing some exercises, and even now I need to do a lot more of it. Whenever I learn more languages now, I do it completely differently. A lot more of this, yeah. Retrieval practice. Think of how to say it. Try to say it. Get feedback. Correct. Like say it the right way. Try again, and you do it over and over again, and your speaking gets good. If you just get input, yeah, you can do. I I know I keep repeating myself, but an hour of retrieval practice while saying the sentences aloud is worth dozens of hours of input. Honestly, if your goal is to speak, so um, yeah, I'm going to work on my French. I'm going to Belgium, so I'm going to work on my French a little bit the next couple of weeks as well as Dutch. But this is what you should do if you want to learn. If you already speak a Romance language, then great. Then do this directly without English. If you've learned a Romance language like Spanish, or you learn French and you want to learn Spanish, do this. Yeah, you take one of them and you use it to learn the other. Make flashcards in both directions, and you translate from one to the other verbally, aloud, and then self-correct always. Yeah, and visualize, memorize the vocabulary, the different vocabulary with associations. Most of it is similar, but there are some things that are different. Like, I mean, it's not that much, right? uh, yeah, like this one, ingenioso, débrouillard, débrouillard. Yeah, you have to associate that one. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. See you later with more videos.